Cool part. Hey.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome back.
Welcome. Episode 8. We're in here again. Still healing all out.
Yeah.
We
We are back. Okay. Let's get started with this mental health check-in because I need to vent.
Yeah, so go ahead. I'm gonna go second.
Okay. I am frustrated. It completely flew
Mhm.
me. So we've been pre-recording our episodes and we debuted in March. And so now our first week when we uploaded, it went to the correct places. It was on time. Great. This week, I don't know what happened, but it did not upload to Apple. And I was trying to figure it out. So, we have on there 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. And I'm like, I'm trying to be on time.
Okay.
And I cannot figure it out. And I'm just like, okay, but we still got to record today. And so I was just like, I am flustered. But whew,
Yeah.
okay.
My better breathe.
It's okay. Gonna
It's
figure it
okay.
out. It's still on Spotify, still on YouTube, but I just thought it would have automatically shared like it did the first time. So I gotta figure that out. No worries. It's gonna be uploaded. But
Yeah.
that's been my morning. So
Yes, it just kind of just happened.
yeah, like
So just like, definitely wasn't expecting that. But I feel like that's how life is. You'll expect one thing and then something else to happen. So
yeah.
I guess brings me to how I feel.
How are
And
you?
I feel sad. I
You're
really I feel sad. Yes. And if I would take it a step further, I would say definitely probably feeling a little depressed, but I'm up, I'm out, still, knocking the things out that I have to get done. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And it's a tough space to be in because it just came out of nowhere. So yeah. But I'm here.
yeah,
Thanks for this space. Thankful.
for showing up.
Ugh,
Because I
right.
already
That's,
know
that's like every time.
when that heavy feeling get on you, it's just like I don't want to do anything. I don't want to talk. I want to go inside my bubble,
Right. Exactly.
cut
And I
every.
did go for a walk today, so that was good. I made myself get up and go do that. I try to clear my mind before we started this. So
Whew, all right.
positive coping.
We are coping. That is positive coping, absolutely. And it's good that we are, you're able to talk about it, get it out. Um, definitely positive. Positive.
Hmm. Gotta
Okay.
keep reminding yourself. It's hard.
Because I think when I get flustered, I always look for a quick fix. I'm not even gonna front. I'm not gonna front
Mhm.
for the gram or the podcast
Yeah, me
or
too.
nothing.
I just recently found out, maybe like probably last month, that I really am an emotional eater. I never felt like I was, but I
Mm,
actually accept the fact that I definitely do that. Definitely. And that's why I feel like I gained a lot of weight last year towards the end when life started getting crazy.
yeah.
That's when I noticed like life crazy because I start gaining weight and I start coping in non-positive ways and I be eating. So yeah, transparent moment.
Very transparent. I'll be
Oh,
like,
but,
where the woman?
oh, girl,
Need to smile.
I'm like,
Need a quick escape.
listen, like trying to transition to CBD is helpful very much.
And you know,
But
they say it is because it doesn't give the like the paranoid or the jittery. It's
yeah, or like the psychedelic effect, but it'll still do the calming.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, but sometimes you might want the psychedelic effect. So, but it is definitely a more positive, more socially accepted substance, depending on where you live at. But I'm in North Carolina, so they not with the shits yet. So, but yeah.
and I
But
think it's a great segue. You said socially acceptable. It really put me in the mindset of our topic today,
uh-huh.
boundaries.
Boundaries. How many of us have them? Mm.
And when you said socially acceptable, that just made me think like it made me think of boundaries, and it's like, are your boundaries to please other people or are they for you?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean,
Right.
follow the law. Like I'm not I'm not in no
They're
way
like, oh, what you saying, Christy?
I'm not telling anybody to break the law. However, when you think about boundaries, when you think about, you know, when you think about what I like to do or what I do or how I show up, it's good to be self-aware. Like, is this because it's acceptable in society? Is
Mm-hmm.
am I doing this because it's acceptable? Am I doing this because this actually is helpful and it's conducive to me personally?
Right.
So, I mean, let's get into it. Like, what
Yeah.
is a boundary? What is a boundary, Dream?
All right. So you hear a lot of people talking about boundaries. Once you go to therapy, it's probably the first piece of homework you'll get is start thinking about it, or you'll hear that you lack them. But basically, it's just like rules or like a guideline on how, others should interact with you, how they should love you, and basically just what's acceptable and what's not when it comes to you. So it's definitely personal.
Yeah,
There definitely is an I in this. There's no team effort. It's what makes sense to you. And of course, in order to set healthy boundaries, you kind of have to be in tune with yourself. You have to be self-aware so that what works for you and what doesn't. I would definitely say it's a form of self-love,
absolutely.
um, because once you start to love yourself, you place value in it and you understand, how important and how much value you add to any relationship, so you want to protect that.
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, that's pretty much the definition of boundaries. Um, but we're gonna let y'all know, what this actually looks like and how to set them because just knowing that it doesn't mean much if you don't know how to apply it. So we're gonna help y'all out with that.
Thanks. You know, you do, I like how you said it's a form of self-love. When you start to value yourself, um, you will move in a manner that is, I'm gonna say, conducive to you. So,
Hmm.
you know, you keep your personal space. Like it can be, you could set boundaries in a physical manner with
Right,
saying like personal space. Like if you are not a touchy-feely person, you need to communicate that.
right.
You know, everybody is not a hugger,
Hmm.
pounded up.
But I had that conversation with my kids too
Wow,
because
now
I'm just
that
like,
is interesting.
yeah, I had to because it was honestly, I needed to because I felt myself getting upset. And I'm like, they're not going to understand why I'm upset that they keep touching me. But it's just like, of course, one, I've been through trauma. And then when we had this conversation, definitely went through a domestic violence incident. And I
Mm.
said what I said. So I really wasn't in a space to like be, to be touched. So I just had the conversation, like you should ask people if it's okay to touch them. Sometimes people don't want to be touched. So sometimes mommy doesn't want to be touched. So I mean, and they would ask me, like they actually got it. And they would always say, "Mommy, do you wanna be touched?" And I'm just like, "Yeah." Not even every time I say yeah, because 'cause I'm like, I don't wanna feel bad, and it's my kid, so I could kinda.
But that's good that you got them in a habit of asking first instead of just
Mhm,
like, darting out there. Um, recently I went to this, it was like open mic night,
mhm.
a little neo soul type vibe.
Ooh,
And like, so sitting on a bench, like there's not a designated space,
yeah.
but this one guy, he he kept letting more people on the bench. And so, the more people that are on this bench, that means the closer we're going to be together. And I really had to like, excuse me, sir. Like, I understand, like, you're friendly or whatever, but don't scooch any closer, please. Like, I and I know he was just like, I just had to like tap him like, hey, stop scooting over. Like, I don't,
Yeah,
this was my little space. Like, I was in my space on the bench, and now you are like
in my space.
squeezing in it, and I'm starting to feel uncomfortable at this point. You can't let nobody else sit on this bench. Like, there's not enough room.
Right,
And then he was like, "Oh, I'll just move my coat. Like, that'll free up some space." Okay, but don't let nobody else sit down because I don't want you scooting any closer. Like, I still
right.
need to maintain an area where I think I said this in some previous episodes. Like, that social anxiety is a thing, and it's just like,
Oh, yeah.
give me my space, bruh. Like,
Right. And not the bruh.
but
Things start getting real when you put the bruh on the end.
like, I feel like comfortably it could only be four of us. And so the fact that he like, oh yeah, come on, let's squeeze. Like, I don't
Mm-mm.
know. You don't know me. Like, why? And it was a rant, and it wasn't like it was one of his friends, like somebody. It was just somebody like, oh, can I get in? Like, yeah, be nice.
Yeah,
No, no, you can't get in because now there's two young ladies on the other side. Are you making them uncomfortable? Like, you push your homegirl off on the edge.
yeah.
Like,
Too much.
just doing too much. So, kind of to get back to our topic, like, you do need them. You need to have your own personal limits.
Mhm.
You know, when you understand, like, so that whole self awareness is huge. When you understand, like, once people get too close, like, I don't want to be shoulder to shoulder. That makes me nervous.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I like
Right.
space. I like to be what I want to say. Like, even, and it's not even trying to be bougie, but I prefer a booth or something. I don't want to be standing in a crowded dance floor. Like, if you're going
Oh,
out,
yeah.
I want to have my own space. I want it sectioned off. I do not want to be in a crowd.
Mhm. I don't like crowds anyway.
Like,
I'm saying.
even if like going to a you ever been to like one of those outdoor like festivals and things?
Mhm.
And it's like the music, I still want to sit up and sit back
Yeah.
away, like
Right.
close enough, but give me a radius. So
Right. You wanna feel comfortable.
you want to keep yourself comfortable. You want to feel safe and secure.
Mhm.
Um, and when I want to say, like, when you don't abide by that, you're going to get angry. You're going to get angry.
Mhm.
You're going to be irritated, and you're going to be
Mhm.
feeling some type of way. And it's because you didn't respect your own boundary. Like, what do
Right.
you need to feel good in this moment and in this space? So, boundaries are extremely important.
Mhm. And I know you mentioned physical, but of course we have a lot of different boundaries. So we have the physical, they could also be like sexual boundaries. So that could just look like I'm not ready to have unprotected sex with you, or I need you to get a test before we engage in that activity, or no, I'm not inviting a third party into our space, whatever that looks like for you. Emotional, then we have financial, spiritual, and then things like time. You definitely need boundaries on time. Um, and like Chrissy was saying, boundaries it kind of put like limits on what you can accept and what you can't. And like you said, if you don't have boundaries set or people kind of cross them, most times it's because you don't have them set. You will start to get angry or disappointed or start feeling resentment, all because at this point now you're hurt or now you're beating yourself up because I should have said something. Why didn't I say something? Like, why did I allow that when I wasn't okay with that? And a lot of times, trauma affects the fact that the affects how we set boundaries. Um, a lot of times because of trauma, we don't have any. That's just being honest. Like boundaries are definitely new for me. Um, and a lot of times because of trauma, like we just feel like one, that we probably don't matter. Like nobody even cares how we feel, or we're just so used to not acknowledging our own feelings or even knowing what we need and want to where we can't really ask somebody else to prioritize our needs and wants. We aren't even in tune with it. We don't even know how to ask for that or really what that feels like. So it definitely can, keep you silent and you'll people will take advantage.
They will. And that is more, you'll see this across the spectrum. Like you can see this at work. You can
Mm,
see this in your, friendships. You can see this in your personal, like intimate relationships. Um,
right.
like you do, like, for example, at work, you do a good job on this project, and now they're like, this is funny. So, say we had a door decorating contest, like for the different holidays, you decorate the
Yeah.
door. And they're like, oh, you're so creative. Be in charge of the hallway, or I want you to run this. And it's just like, and you kind of get voluntold into things. And it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
and, work, it can be depending on like, what your goals, what you're trying to achieve. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you are trying to, you want to move up in the ranks, you might start taking on these extra projects you're not being paid for. Just
Mm-hmm.
all types of things because you do want to show your you want to show your work ethic, you want to show how creative you are, you want to, you know,
Or
let the
like prove
boss,
yourself.
you want to prove yourself exactly. But
Right.
at what point, to like what extent, like when does it become a detriment to you? Like, are you spending 10, 12 hours at work out of, instead of the normal 8? Are you
Right.
starting to neglect self-care? Like now I can't go to the gym, or, I'm missing time with family because I'm trying to get these projects and things done. It's
Mhm.
just, it shows up in a lot of different ways.
Right.
And trauma will have you feeling, it will have you feeling like, especially from childhood, like if your needs weren't met, or like you were dismissed.
Mhm.
um and I think that's something, I think I could say this, I think it's like huge in a Black household where we are we have that survival mindset. It's like, yeah, it happened, you cry, you wipe your tears, and you move on. And
Mhm.
so those emotional feelings really aren't expressed,
Right.
in a way that can build like an understanding. It's just like, oh, this hurt, or oh, this person died, but I have to keep going. Like, I'm
Right.
sick, but I don't have any more sick days. I gotta go to work because who's gonna pay the bills? Like
Mhm.
it shows up. And so, you
You have
know,
to put those limits. And it's really an extra barrier, like protection for you in all those different areas. So definitely, definitely important. And I definitely like that you mentioned, from childhood, just how you grew up, how you interacted with your parents, and if they met your needs, or you know, children have needs. So if your parents didn't meet them, you'll kind of grow up thinking, "I'm the only person that can meet my needs." So
mm,
you lack boundaries. So definitely, definitely important to have. Um, so now we want to give y'all a couple tips just for setting them, because that's the hard part. And it definitely, definitely is the hard part. All right. So our first tip is to reflect on the reason for the boundary. So it's only going to make sense if it applies to you, if it's personal, if it's individualized. Because a boundary for Chrissy may not be a boundary for me. It may not affect me in any way. I might not have a preference. So just think about, why am I setting this boundary? So like for me, as far as like dating, I can't do last minute. Like you can't hit me up right now and be like, oh, let's go do X, Y, and Z. Because
mm,
I'm like, first of all, I got an appointment. I got all this. I got something else to do. Like I just can't just stop in the middle. Like I'm a planner. You know what I mean? And we going on out of town. What we doing? I need to pack my bag. No, I can't do that. So I know the boundary is, if you don't let me know ahead of time or give me enough time to be prepared, then I can't do it. And it just is what it is. Like I have to look out for stuff. Um, and then think about how to benefit your emotional well being. So I know if you hit me up last minute, want me to do something that's going to require a lot, it's going to give me a lot of anxiety. I'm gonna start freaking out. Like I'm gonna just start feeling overwhelmed. I'm gonna need to stop and take breaths. Like it's just gonna do too much. So in order to prevent that on the front end, the boundary is, don't hit me up on nothing last minute. Nah, can't do it.
um, speaking, time is huge. Time is really huge. I know, like, there's the CPT time.
Oh yeah, girl, I'll be late.
Like I'm
I'll
late,
be
I'm late. And for me, like I I used to be I used to subscribe to CPT time.
uh-huh.
Absolutely. Like, oh, I'll get there when I get there. I'll show up. Like, but as getting older into this, adult age, everybody has things going on. Like you said, do not waste your friend's time. Like, we are all busy. We have families, we got
Mhm.
projects, we got life, we got our own little ventures going on. As you get into, this adult age, time is huge. Do not
Mhm.
take your friends' time for granted. Don't take their time for granted. Like if you say we're doing brunch and I made a reservation, like show up to that, be on time or cancel within enough time.
Mhm.
Um Another thing about time, this makes me laugh, is that I'm gonna be asleep. So if
I'll be.
we're doing something late, I need to I gotta prepare. Like I need to take a nap. I need to get a
Oh,
Red Bull.
you
Like,
old.
but if it's too late, like I remember one time, my good friend, she she was like, "We're gonna go out. Let's go to this reggae club." I'm like, "Okay." We haven't hung out in a while, so I was just like, "All right, I'm gonna go out." But I told her, I'm like, I'm not staying out all night because I really just don't have it in me. Like, I know it's
Mm.
the weekend. I was like, but my turn up is this big. Like it's literally this big. So if we leaving at 10, midnight 30, I'm gonna be ready to go.
Mhm.
And I let her know this. Like, okay, just come out with me for a little bit. I don't want to go by myself. I'm like, okay. 10 o'clock, I'm ready. I'm ready. She like, give me an hour. I'm like, okay now. You pressing it, but
Right.
I'm gonna give you an hour. Do you know she called me at 12:30?
I would have been asleep. I'm like, girl.
You stood me up. Half a no, I didn't.
Right.
We had a time. You knew I was gonna be asleep. And the crazy thing is, like, I was like, oh, maybe I could take a quick nap. Like,
Mhm. Don't
asleep
do that.
with my clothes on, face full of makeup, knocked out.
Oh man.
So if your friends is telling you, like, hey, I can't hang out all night like I used to, but I'm willing to go, be respectful of that.
Right.
I was asleep. Don't get mad at me. I was ready. I was
Yeah.
ready.
Well, at least you were open to hanging out with your friend.
Yeah.
So I guess you did your part. It just didn't work out.
Okay.
But yeah,
So
start with a few boundaries. Don't start with a whole long drawn out list that you can see on Instagram and you just throwing them out there. Like go slow, take your time, because you really need to figure out what you need boundaries on, what you need boundaries for. You need to see what works, and then kind of tweak it. They're not uh so firm and rigid to where they can't be changed. It's you. It's your life. So just take your time. Don't rush into it. So then you sitting up there looking crazy, or either you forgetting what the boundary was. You know what I'm saying? So then you like feeling bad about yourself. So definitely just start with a few and know why.
definitely and know why. By you understanding the reason and knowing why, then it'll help you to be consistent in enforcing the
Right.
like you won't be confused about it. You won't be
Hmm.
confused like, no, this is something for me. I know I need this. I know, like, if I don't want to be overwhelmed, if I don't want to be so anxious, I need
Hmm.
time to prepare so I could get my mind right, so I can make sure everything's in place so that when I do go out, I can have a good time and enjoy myself.
Hmm. Definitely.
Um, set boundaries early in relationships.
Oh yes.
Early in relationships. And there's a caveat because your friendships, so me and Dream, we've been friends since '07. And like she said, your boundaries are going to change. What was acceptable in college is
Hmm.
not acceptable now. And so
Right.
I think that may cause, a little tension in relationships when you've been friends for so long with
Hmm.
others, is that they may be used to you one way, but as you're healing, as you're growing, as you're becoming
Hmm.
yourself, they're going to change.
Right.
But when you're dating and forming those intimate relationships, you set those boundaries early and you stay consistent.
Right. Even with new friendships, new places of employment, same
Yes.
thing. Any new relationships, start early. Even with your kids, start early. Let them know what works and what's not going to work for you. And then even with the old relationships, kind of too late to start early, but it's never too late to start implementing boundaries. It's either going to go one or two ways. They're either going to be with it or they're not. And then, of course, that's you don't need them around anyway.
I was about to say, so then that's the reason and season.
Right. And don't be afraid to communicate. when your boundaries are crossed, or just disregard it, because people, they probably will try or try you to see what they can get away with, or to see if you're serious or not. Because you said one thing, but let me see, like, if she really mean it. And so don't be afraid. If they don't like what you're saying, then that's cool. You have to be comfortable in knowing that this isn't about them, it's about you. And if you kind of let them disregard your boundary or continue to cross it, who's really going to be hurt in the end? You. And we're not doing that anymore. Like we're thinking about stuff. We're working on stuff. So people that are good for you, they won't feel no type of way about you having your boundaries because they know it's for you, and they also have their own, so they get it. They know, you know what I mean. So yeah, what was you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say just um communicate. I think that's a huge tip. Like if your boundaries are being crossed or disregarded, you have to say something. And I think as trauma survivors and people, who have experienced trauma, it's hard
Mhm.
for us to tell just to speak up in general. Um, I think that's associated with trauma. It's hard for us to speak up. You have to get in that habit. Like you have to say something. You have to let them know. Um, because at the end, like Dream said, you're the one who's going to be hurt. You're gonna be on your feelings, you know? And so let's wrap it up. So, boundaries, it's a clear expectation of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable for you. The more the longer you go on your healing journey, you'll become self aware and you'll form that self love, and it won't feel like a rule or something. This is just something to protect you and keep peace within yourself. And so,
Important.
very important.
You definitely want to maintain and protect your peace, especially after you've come so far on the journey. That's going to be extremely important to you.
So, reflect, think about things that you need, understand your reasoning for the journey. Make sure you communicate it, be consistent, and speak up if those boundaries are being crossed.
Hmm.
Mm,
We hope that helps.
hope it helps.
Definitely help. Which
And
I definitely feel like it will.
oh, absolutely. And I'm gonna leave you with a scripture. It's First John 4:1. Beloved, do not Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. For many false prophets have gone out into the world. By this, you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come into the flesh of God, from God, and every spirit that does not confess Jesus is not from God. And so, again, that's First John. Sorry, that was First John chapter 4, verses 1 through 3.
Mhm.
When your boundaries are crossed, when you're not speaking up from yourself, when those spirits that are not from God. So we mentioned earlier, do not feel bad for setting boundaries. Those
Mhm.
around you who love and support you, they will respect your boundaries, and you should always have a peace and a calmness about it.
Right.
Just keep that in mind, like while you're setting boundaries, while you're communicating them, and even if they have been crossed, you should still have a sense of peace because you are speaking something, that is important and that is for the well-being of you.
Mhm.
And others who are supportive and they are, they're for you, they're not going to just, people may, they may make mistakes, but they are not going to dismiss. They're not
Right.
going to dismiss your boundaries. They're not going to dismiss your feelings. So just know that when you are setting your boundaries, you're communicating your boundaries,
Mhm.
God always gives us a spirit of peace. And if it's not peace, if it's not calmness, if you are in turmoil because you're speaking up for yourself,
Just reconsider the relationship. Figure out how best to be a part of that relationship, or you know, your exit plan.
deuces.
Yes, that was good. So hopefully this conversation helped a lot. We'll definitely give some examples of these boundaries. We'll put them on our page, or either we'll come back and give y'all some at another time. But make sure you follow us on Instagram at Healing Uncut Podcast, and make sure you check out our YouTube and just comment, share, send us a message, subscribe, all of that. All that good stuff.
Okay. We love
Thanks for
y'all.
listening.
We did it. Thanks for listening. See ya.
Bye.